Oh my God. The frustration. What this season has become. And what is now in front of us. Welcome to Andy Alfred. We're taping this show 9:30 on the 23rd day of September 2025. Welcome to Andy Alfred. You know where the handles are. At Andy Alfred on Twitter, Facebook.com/AllAndyAlfred, YouTube. What we witnessed tonight at Progressive Field has just killed the Detroit Tigers. The Tigers have no soul. They have no effort. They are dead on their feet. Having the lead in this division since April. Having the lead this big, this time. And the fact that they absolutely have totally, utterly collapsed. There's no chance of building. The rubble, it's gone. Everything's gone. I'm telling you this right now. The high hopes that we had at the beginning of this summer, in the beginning of the season in April, the thrill of Terrence Skubal, Jack Flaherty, Torkelson, Green, this young core that we have had, just flat out, offensively, flat out, just gave up. I'm tired of Gleyber Torres. I don't need to see him anymore. And you know why? Now I know why the Yankees dumped him. There's been no effort. There's been no soul. There has been no way of getting back into this game. You had on July 13th a 12.5 game lead in the division. You were on you set it to cruise control. And look what's happened. Look what's happened. The Tigers. I am going to put this out on this, the 23rd day of September, 2025, are not going to make the playoffs. They have blown their chance to get into the playoffs. They have no effort, no soul, and there's no way that they're finding it in the next 24 to 48 hours. There is no, and I'm going to use some language tonight, and I'm going to be honest with you guys here on the podcast. I am very, very frustrated, and I know also there's going to be some shots at me wearing a red polo tonight because Guardians are wear red tonight, and I don't give a damn. I am absolutely livid about this game. I mean, there is no effort. There has never been any effort for the last month. And I kept saying to myself, they'll find a way. They're going to find a way to get back into the swing of things. They're not. The ship has sailed. The season is done. Sure, you could possibly, win games and go outright, but the season series and technically the two teams could tie together, but Cleveland's going to win the division. Cleveland's going to win the division because of what is in front of the Tigers and what's in front of the Guardians. It is high drama. This is playoff baseball at its finest, and we're still in the regular season. And what did we get tonight? We got absolutely shitted on. Green, the home run. I thought that was the bright spot, taking the 2-0 lead. And it felt like after that 2-0 lead, we folded the tents. You can't fold the tents this early. You can't. And not a single hit into the outfield. And Cleveland gets 3 runs. The Guardians get 3 runs. Thoughts and prayers to David Fry. Taking that pitch, that bunt, right off the face. That was gruesome. Skubal was shooken by that. And he wasn't right after that ever since. First pitch coming back out of after the injury from Fry. Drops it in, goes away. Cleveland takes the lead 3-2. And when I saw that, I said to myself, this game's done. Skubal's done. The way that this team has performed this season and down the stretch have just absolutely blown this game and blown their chance to get to the Commissioner's Trophy and the chance to play in October. It's done. It's over. And it's so disheartening to see this. Because you play 182 games, and the last 30 games of this month, they have not showed up at the Diamond. I thought what got me so far this season with the Tigers was this. The week series, when they went to New York, in Austin Meadows having the breakout game on TBS, on national television, they pound the Yankees. They take 2 or 3 from New York. You think to yourself, oh, they have this is it. And then they get swept that same weekend by the Marlins. By the freaking Marlins. And then last week, big games in Detroit. A huge series with the Guardians. You get swept by the Guardians. You opened the door for them. They came plowing through, and then you just absolutely lay an egg on the final home weekend. And it doesn't get any better. You lose tonight 5-2 to the Guardians. Skubal just did not look good. He gets the loss in the game. I mean, this season is done. Cleveland's got the division. Cleveland's got the division. Cleveland's got the division. And I'm telling you right now, Detroit's not making the postseason. They are not going to make the postseason. Skubal the loss. He goes to 13-6. Williams the win. He goes to 12-5. For over 100 games, Detroit had the division lead, and it's gone. Absolutely gone. I mean, what is there else to say? Skubal, 6 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs. That 1 run was earned. He had 8 strikeouts in the game. ERA is now at 2.21. Williams for Cleveland, solid outing. Every one of the pitchers. Williams had 12 strikeouts for the team alone. 19 strikeouts. Makes sense. Makes sense. Williams to win, 12-5. 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs, all of which were earned, 2 walks, 12 strikeouts, ERA 3.06. 30,000 in attendance tonight. For a game that started at 6 8:40 Eastern. Huge crowd on hand. Huge crowd on hand. And with the win, they take the season series. So mathematically, if the season ends tonight, if the season would hypothetically end tonight, Cleveland would win the division because they take the season series over Detroit. Because of last week with the series in Detroit, and they swept the series in Detroit. So there's that. They lead the series 7-4. There's just no way. Cleveland takes the series. And they have now control. And they have control over Houston, remember, as well, too. My dad, I love him. He watches this podcast. He told me at the beginning of the season that Detroit's defense was not going to do anything this year. It was going to be the downfall. I put that in the back burner of my brain. In the back burner of my brain. And he is right. He was right all along. Cleveland wins tonight 5-2. Both teams 85 and 72. Both tied, mathematically tied, but Cleveland has the advantage over Detroit in the series, and they would win the division if the season ended today. And like I said, it doesn't get easier for Detroit. They have these 2 games going forward against Cleveland this week, and these are huge games. These are playoff impact games, because it's not only the Cleveland series we're worried about. It's the final series in Boston, where Boston is fighting for a wild card spot, holding the second wild card position. As of right now, Detroit holds the third wild card position. And Houston is right there. Only a half game. I'm telling you this, Detroit. I'm telling you, Tiger fans. We're done. The season is going to be over. There is no fight left in this team. They are dead on their feet. Torkelson he slammed his bat down in frustration after he struck out in the 8th inning. You don't see that. You don't see that with him. He's been a mild man. And I don't care what you say. To me, it's like, you're gonna be eating crow. They're gonna make the playoffs. Blah 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 blah. How far? Because if the playoffs started today, we'd be playing Cleveland in Cleveland again. And you know what proves it too? Tonight, Cleveland reminds me of us, the Tigers from last year. Gritty, young, battling. We were the hunters, and now this year we're the hunted. It's embarrassing. Heads are going to have to roll at the end of the season if Detroit fails to make the playoffs. I mean, hell, in June, we were about ready to crown A.J. Hinch the manager of the year of how good this team is. And I'm going to tell you this, because of all the situations, I think Scooble's walking out. Scooble's done. He ain't going to be a part of this organization if this is what it's going to be. Again, language, but I'm going to say it. It's a fucking embarrassment. It's embarrassing of what this team had this season. They had such a great run this season. And it's gonna go to waste. It's gonna go to waste because we have no heart, we have no grit, We have no fight left in us. We folded down the tents, we put away, and we let every team that has played us in the last 30 days walk all over us. It's a, pardon my language again, it's a damn joke. But you play the game on the field, Andy. You play the game on the field. I've seen the game on the field, and I see no effort. I see no will. I see nothing. Absolute nothing. And what I witnessed tonight proved it. Proved it yet again. Flaherty will go on the bump tomorrow. 6:40 start time. He's 8-14 with a 4.60 ERA. BB for the Guardians, 11-11, 4.34 ERA. Detroit is now not the favorite anymore. They were the favorite going into tonight's game. Cleveland's now the favorite already. Detroit has not yet named the starter for Thursday's concluding game of the series. It will be Misak for Cleveland. He's 3-0 with a 2.08 ERA, 6:40 start time for that series. And then the Tigers are in Boston for a 3-game set against the Red Sox, starting Friday night. That game on Apple TV. Montero 5-3 with a 4.48 ERA. Boston has not yet named the starter, and here's the thing too. 3:05 first pitch Sunday. It'll be Giolito for Boston, and it could possibly be Terrence Scoobel pitching on Sunday to try to get Detroit into the playoffs. And I don't think it's going to happen. I think the collapse is there. And I look at the rest of the Major League Baseball right now, game-wise, that's happening. It's not looking good for Detroit. It really isn't. Red Sox are up 4-1 on the Blue Jays. Rangers are losing right now to the Twins, so that's a good sign for Detroit. Houston will start at 10:05 tonight in Sacramento. They're playing the Sacramento A's. 10:05 first pitch. That's going to be a must-watch for Tiger fans because a Houston win bumps Detroit down out of the playoffs. Bumps them out of the playoffs. Can you believe that they get bumped to the seventh? They would be bumped to the 7th seed, and they have to play the second best team, and that would be the Seattle Mariners. I mean, I'm just in shock. I'm just in shock. I just can't believe. I can't believe this. I really can't. It's sad. It's absolutely sad. And then you have the other team in Ohio, the Reds, who absolutely need wins and wins and wins and wins. You're rooting for the Cubs this week as the Cubs are playing the Mets. The Cubs are up on the Mets 7-7 right now, so you're being a Cub fan for this week because of the Mets series. The Reds lose tonight 4-2. The Reds are holding the final wild card position with the Mets. The Mets are losing right now. So there's that. So it's all crazy. It's all wonky right now. The playoffs started today. The Mets and the Reds are in a virtual tie for the final wild card spot. So yeah, you gotta love baseball, folks, especially this time of year. especially this time of year. It is high drama at the end of the season, and it fits in perfectly during the week when you have football ending on each side, each end of the end cap. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So we'll see what happens tomorrow night at Progressive Field. 6:40 first pitch. Flaherty versus Beebe on the bump. Also got to give mention to the Mudhens. The Mudhens season has come to an end. They had the best record for themselves this year. Best record since 2020, bettering their record in 2022. The season has ended for the Mudhens, so congratulations. And now Fifth Third Field sits empty for the rest of the year until we get into April of next year. So there is that. As you are watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight, right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you listen to our podcast, wherever and whenever you're listening, thank you so much for tuning in to the show. We'll keep tabs on the Boston game as well as what's happening in the Bronx. White Sox up 2-1 on the Yankees, bottom of the ninth, but the Yankees got a runner on first, as well as the Mets-Cubs game as well. But let's get right into what we witnessed also this weekend. And we're going to first start off with the National Football League. And let's start first and foremost with the team that is on the lake, that is the Cleveland Browns. Browns a huge win this past weekend over the Green Bay Packers. And I got to tell you, a lot of people are shocked at that victory, and I was one of them too. Followed most of the game on Sunday, and to be honest with you, I had a coworker who she was following the game, and she saw that Green Bay was up 10-0. She turned off her ticker. I kept tabs with it most of the game, and then all of a sudden, with like about once the interception happened and then they run in for the touchdown to get it to 10-10, I immediately went to her. I said, you need to take a look at this. But that's when Green Bay was driving and they got it down to into field goal territory, and the block happened. Flacco steps up to the plate, gets them into field goal range, and the Browns kicked the game-winning field goal to beat the Green Bay Packers 13-10 at Cleveland at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland, Ohio. Final stats of the game tonight, and that gives Cleveland their first win of the season as Smith gets to the 55-yard field goal in the game. You look at the overall, Jordan Love 18 for 25 for 183 yards, 1 TD, 1 interception in the game, QBR rating of a 45.0. Josh Jacobs 16 carries for 30 yards. You had Matthew Golden, top receiver, at 4 catches, 52 yards. John Fitzpatrick was the touchdown catch, 2 catches, 12 yards, 1 TD in the game. Romeo Dobbs, 2 catches, 25 yards in the game. Joe Flacco, 21 for 36 for 142 yards passing. He had no touchdowns, 1 interception, QBR rating of 40.6. Wishawn Jenkins, 18 carries, 94 yards, 1 TD, that TD run-in. David Njoku, 5 catches, 40 yards. Harold Fanning Jr., our Falcon, 3 catches, 25 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 1 catch, 17 yards. Jerome Ford, 4 catches, 10 yards in the game. Dylan Simpson, 1 carry for 2 yards in the game. Myles Garrett having a huge game for him today on Sunday. He had a half a sack in the game. Carl Schwarzenegger, 1 sack, and then you have Malik Collins, who has 1.5 sacks. The other half sack, of course, coming from Mason Graham as well too. So the overall team stats, the Browns had a total of 241 yards of offense, 125 through the air, 96 on the ground. The Packers 230, 149 yards passing, 81 yards rushing. The Browns 4 for 13 on third down. The Packers 10 for 18. The Browns 1 for 2 on fourth down efficiency. You look at it overall as well too. Penalty minutes, 8 penalties for 90 yards for Cleveland, 14 penalties, 75 yards in penalties. Both teams turned over the football 1 time. The time of the possession went to Green Bay at 34 minutes, 14 seconds, to Detroit's 25 minutes, 46 seconds. at Huntington Bank Field in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. So the Browns, a huge victory there. The Bills, a huge victory on Thursday Night Football, 31-21, which causes Mike McDaniels being fired by the Miami Dolphins. No Joe Burrow. He's done for, at least I think he's done for the season. They lose in Minnesota 48-10. Patriots fall to the Steelers 21-14. The Colts a 41-21 over Tennessee. How about Houston losing? They are 0-3. They lose to the Jaguars 17-10. Atlanta falls to Carolina 30-0. The Eagles, a huge win over the Rams with the block kick, gets the win 33-26. Tampa Bay pulls out the victory over the Jets 29-27. Commanders a 41-24 win over the Raiders. Justin Herbert gets the huge win over the Denver Broncos 23-20. The Seahawks pound out the Saints 44-13. A come from behind win for the 49ers as they win 16-15. And then I got to watch most of the Sunday night game, Sunday afternoon late game, the 4:25, as the Chicago Bears took on the Dallas Cowboys. And Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb, that Lamb injury looked absolutely terrible. He looked like that when his ankle snapped like that. I thought of his leg looked like a pretzel, like he got turned like a pretzel. And Dak could not complete the pass, and he was just struggling the most of the rest of the day, having the 2 interceptions in the game for him. And the Bears and their quarterback and their Caleb Williams power their way and give Ben Johnson his first win as the Bears coach by beating the Cowboys 31-14. So the Dallas fans that I always say out there, you still them boys? Of course. And by the way, to recap it really quickly, Prescott, 31 for 40 for 251, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions, his QBR rating of 40.7. Williams, 19 for 28, 4 TDs for 298 yards, QBR rating of an 86.7. Unbelievable. So again, the Cowboys fall to the Bears 31-14, and then you get the Sunday Night Football, and most of the country was wondering if this game was going to be interesting. It was an interesting game. Of course, Dable and the New York Football Giants welcoming Andy Reid and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs just don't look like the Chiefs anymore. They're 1-2 with the victory on Sunday Night Football. But I have some questions on the Chiefs. I think the Chiefs are done. I told you guys this at the beginning of the season. I think they're done. I have no faith in the Chiefs. I have no faith in the Chiefs this year. And I'm happy that they're going to be taking a step back. And seeing Travis Kelce go after Andy Reid was a shock, an absolute shock, but not to be expected. And I felt like the Giants needed to win that game, and I think the experiment with Russell Wilson's done. As it was announced today that Jackson Dart's going to take over the quarterbacking role. Thank God. Rusty's done. Rusty's been cooked for a long time. He ain't got the goodies anymore, I'll tell you that much. So, as a football fan, I was hoping the Giants were going to beat Kansas City, especially with it being just 9-6 at halftime. I thought maybe the Giants would come out and, pound the football, but it didn't come up the case. The Chiefs stepped up to the plate in the second half and won 22-6. So we'll see how that shakes out. And then we get to Monday night. And, of course, the big one. As Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and the Baltimore Ravens welcomed in Jared Goff, David Montgomery, and Sam Laporta and the Detroit Lions to BB&T Field. And I got to tell you, every person picked the Ravens in this game. Except for, not because I'm a Lions homer, but because of the fact that in 2 weeks of how Baltimore has played, they played They played lackluster against Buffalo and lost. They beat up a Browns team that's absolutely atrocious this year. And now they play a Detroit Lions team that absolutely took them to the woodshed in the game. At the break, we were 14-14. And, the Lions jumping out to the early 7-0 lead. A good drive, 11 plays, 67 yards for 5 minutes and 44 seconds as Jahmyr Gibbs took the ball and ran it into the end zone. It was 7-0. But the problem is, Baltimore comes right back down the field, and Derrick Henry gets the 28-yard touchdown run and ties the game at 7 on a 6-play, 80-yard drive that lasted only 3 minutes and 36 seconds. You get to the second quarter, and then you have, like I said, Gibbs and Montgomery are Sonic and Knuckles, and the combination capitalized again, and on an 18-play, 98-yard drive that started at the 2-yard line. The Lion 2-yard line. They take it 10 minutes and 48 seconds down the field, and the Lions take a 14-7 lead. But right before the end of the half, you have on a 4-play, 49-yard drive that lasted 32 seconds. Bateman gets the pass from Jackson. It's 14-14 at the break. And now, when I was watching this game, I kept saying to myself, Baltimore is reminding me of Kansas City. Because Kansas City, anytime you give them the ball, they can easily go down the field very, very quickly. So the goal, I thought the second half goal is that get the ball, run a lot of clock, and score points. And it didn't help that Baltimore got the football to start the second half. And then it went on an 11-play, 73-yard drive that lasted 6 minutes and 9 seconds, which led to Mark Andrews getting a touchdown from Lamar Jackson. It's 21-14. And then the Lions decided they wanted to come out and play. 7-play, 60-yard drive for the Lions that lasted 3 minutes and 38 seconds was capped off by Amon-Ra St. Brown getting the pass from Jared Goff for 18 yards for the touchdown, making it a 21-21 ball game. Like I said, and Bates with the extra point makes it 21-21, which then turns into the fourth quarter. The Lions having the football again, and again, a long drive, 7 plays, 96-yard drive that they had, leading to a Jahmyr Gibbs touchdown in 3 minutes and 41 seconds, and the Lions are up 28-24. And the defense stood up in that period as Baltimore went down the field in a 5-minute, 15-second drive. And again, a great play by the defense, standing ground, but Tyler Luke kicking the field goal, making it 28-24. Now you keep saying to yourself, can the Lions, get some more points off of this? They need 6. They can get it to 6. They're within 4. If they get it to 6, we'll see what happens. Sure enough, they go down the field, 4 plays, 11 yards. In a minute 51, and Bates kicks the 45-yard field goal, and the Lions get a 31-24 lead. And then the big one, the dagger. Derrick Henry gets the ball, and Aiden Hutchinson punches it out. The Lions recover the fumble. Derrick Henry goes on a ballistic run, throwing his helmet into the bench, and then falling down on the bench. My wife, my friend Danny, who was watching the game, and myself were all busting up laughing over that. The king has fallen on his crown. The king has fallen on his throne as well. And that capped off a 7-play, 70-yard run by David Montgomery to give the Lions a 38-24 lead with change left to go in the game. Jackson runs it down the field for a garbage time touchdown from Mark Andrews, 27-yard pass. They fail on the 2-point conversion. Onside kick takes place. It's recovered by Sam Laporta. 2 knees. The Lions go into Baltimore with a big 38-30 win over the Ravens. Huge win for the Lions. In the game, of course, for the Lions, Goff, 20 for 28, 202 yards, 1 TD, no interceptions, QBR rating of a 72.6. Montgomery, 12 carries, 151 yards, 2 TDs. Jahmyr Gibbs, 22 carries for 67 yards, 2 TDs in the game. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 7 catches for 77 yards, 1 TD in the game. Sam Laporta, 4 catches, 33 yards in catches in the game. Jameson Williams, 2 catches, 43 yards in the game. For the Ravens, Lamar Jackson, 21 for 27, 288 total yards passing for 3 touchdowns, QBR rating of 68.9. The King, Derrick Henry, 12 carries, 50 yards, 1 TD, and the fumble that he caused. Mark Andrews, 6 catches, 91 yards, 2 TDs. Rashad Bateman, 5 catches, 63 yards, 1 TD in the game. You look over the overall team stats in the game. The Lions had 318 total yards of offense, 233 through the air, 85 of the ground. Baltimore, 426 yards of total offense in the game. They had 202 through the air, 224 on the ground. The Lions, 6 for 11. The Lions had 426 yards of total offense to the Ravens 318. It's flipped on that one. My apologies on that part. Lions 7 for 14 on third down. They were shooting at 50%. The Ravens 6 for 11. The Lions a perfect 3 for 3 on fourth down. Ravens 0 for 1. And the defense stood up on that fourth down play, which was very, very good for them. 8 penalties, 68 yards for the Lions. 3 penalties, 10 yards for Baltimore. Baltimore having that 1 turnover. But the Lions led in time of possession. And like I said, if you can't keep Lamar Jackson on the sideline, it's key. They held the football 33 minutes and 18 seconds to Baltimore's 26 minutes and 42 seconds. Great crowd on hand of 70,642 in attendance at MT Bank Stadium in Baltimore. And that concludes week 3 of the National Football League. We now turn the schedule over to week 4 of the National Football League. And we have games happening this week. Of course, the Thursday night game is Seahawks-Cardinals. Both teams 2-1. Seattle, 1.5 point favorite in the game. I'm going to take Seattle in the game. Of course, we will be on the air Friday for our Falcon Friday edition of All Andy Alfred to preview Bowling Green's game and all the games in college football, as well as recapping this terrible series for the Tigers so far. And looking ahead, the Lions and the Browns are going to play each other. I can't wait for this game. It'll be a 1 o'clock kick on Fox. Of course, we have the first European games happening as the Vikings and the Steelers will play at 9:30 on Sunday. Both teams 2-1. And then you have the Browns and Lions. Browns 1-2. Lions are 2-1. Early line looks like the Lions are 8.5 point favorites in the game. Of course, Sunday late slate, it will be on CBS as the doubleheader. Baltimore will take on Kansas City. Sunday Night Football sees the return of Micah Parsons and the Green Bay Packers to Dallas to take on the Cowboys, and a doubleheader on Monday Night Football. It will be the Jets playing the Dolphins and the Bengals on the road to play the Denver Broncos. So there is your NFL slate as you are watching and listening to All Andy Alfred tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening to us tonight, wherever and whenever you're listening. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast tonight. I'm going to take a quick sip here. Wish it was gin because of how bad the Tigers are tonight. Let's get into some college football really quickly, as week 4 of the college slate has come and passed. Of course, Ohio State on the bye this week, but Notre Dame coming off of the loss to Texas A&M took on Purdue, a huge win for the Boilermakers, big loss for the Boilermakers as they lost to Notre Dame 56-30. As we recap the top 25 scoreboard, Texas Tech a winner over Utah 34-10. Tennessee, 15th ranked in the country, beats UAB 56-24. Oregon, a 41-7 win over Oregon State in the old Civil War. Florida State 66, Kent State 10. Oklahoma 24-17 win over Auburn. Ole Miss a 45-10 win over Tulane. It was Michigan pulling out the victory over Nebraska 30-27. Georgia Tech a 45-24 win over Temple. Missouri beats South Carolina 29-20. The Miami on Saturday night's football game of the week. beats Florida 26-7. Illinois gets shellacked by Indiana 63-10. Vanderbilt a 70-21 win over Georgia State. LSU 56-10 win over Southeast Louisiana. Texas shellacks Sam Houston 55-0. And USC beats Michigan State 45-31 in the top 25 games. You look at the Big Ten slate, of course. Like I said, Ohio State on the bye last week. It was Iowa beating Rutgers 38-28. You had Maryland beating Wisconsin 27-10, and then the other game in the Big Ten, Washington takes the Apple Cup over Washington State 59-24. We'll look at Week 5 slate here in just a second, but we're going to get into the Mid-American Conference, which is, I think, in my opinion, the best conference out there. And I would start with Bowling Green first, but we had a huge upset in the Mid-American Conference this past week. And before we get into that, let's recap the rest of the games. UNLV travels from Las Vegas to Oxford, Ohio to take on the Red Hawks. And UNLV a 41-38 win over Miami of Ohio. Central Michigan a 49-10 over Wagner. UConn beats Ball State 31-25. Eastern Michigan beats the Raging Cajuns of Louisiana 34-31. Troy beats Buffalo 21-17. Ohio puts a shellacking on Gardner-Webb 52-35. Mississippi State beats Northern Illinois 38-10. And Akron a 51-7 win over Duquesne. The big game, of course, I want to talk about first and foremost is what happened in Kalamazoo, Michigan this past weekend, and what we witnessed if you're a Toledo fan. And I'm going to get into this Toledo situation here first and continuing on this Toledo situation before I get to the Bowling Green game from this past week. I have heard a lot of people talking this week about what happened in Kalamazoo and the pathetic performance that the University of Toledo football team performed on in Kalamazoo against Western Michigan. Brock Laurie, in all his glory, helps out Western Michigan in the game. At halftime, Toledo was only up 3-0. Okay? And that was like with less than 30 seconds to go in the game, in the period, in the first half. Callan with a 30-yard field goal. They get the football to come out of the break. And Chip Trainum has the absolute run. On the second play of the second half, breaks out a 63-yard touchdown run. It's 10-0 Toledo. A 3-and-out for Western Michigan. Toledo gets the football back, drives it down the field, and they kick another field goal. It's 13-0 Toledo. And at that point, I was listening a little bit of the game, and I turned it off because I was watching most of the Notre Dame game. I kept saying to myself, all right, Toledo's got this under control. I had to go back and watch this game. The defense just fell apart quicker than the defense just was terrible for Toledo. And Tucker Gleason is not the quarterback. And we'll get to his stats here in a second. But Brock Laurie, with less than a minute to play in the third quarter, breaks out the 6-yard touchdown run. It's 13-6. They go for the extra point, and they miss. It's 13-6. Both teams are trading back and forth. A lot of 3-and-outs, But I get to the final 2 minutes of this game. Okay. Now, you get to the final 2 minutes of this game. You get to the final 2 minutes of this game. Toledo gets the football let's see here. They get the football at past the 2-minute mark. Trainum gets the run, no yards. Western Michigan calls a timeout. Trainum then, they run it again. A 2-yard loss. Sets up 3rd and 13, and Gleason goes for the 3-yard run. Doesn't get the first down. They eventually punt. The punt then goes all the way to the Toledo, a terrible punt, goes all the way to the Toledo 48. And in 48 seconds, a 6-play, 48-yard drive, Laurie to Quell Williams for 43 yards to the Toledo 5 for a first down. On a 4th down, they had to get it, and they got it. And then Brock Laurie runs it in from the Toledo 2, touchdown Western Michigan. They kick the extra point, and it goes through. It's 14-13. Now, if you're a Toledo fan, you're thinking to yourself, all right, you got time. You've got the quarterback. They get the kickoff. Kicks it off for 65 yards. Gets it to the Toledo 33. Gleason fumbles it on himself. It's recovered by Boswell. 2nd and 9. 2-yard pass. Cheap pass. Incomplete. Goes to 3rd and 7. 4th and 7. Gleason to Terrell Crosby. Incomplete. Western takes the knee. And the Western Michigan Broncos beat the University of Toledo 14-13. I have had so many people come up to me and have said that this should be the start of putting a coffin in Jason Candle's coaching career. His play calling in the final drives to close out the game is immiscible. You cannot have that happen. You are the powerhouse. You want to be the powerhouse and be one of the Power Fives to get into the college football playoff. And you have this performance against Western Michigan just proves without a shadow of a doubt that you are not a Power 5 program. That you are not capable of representing the Mid-American Conference. You are not capable of doing this. Winning games. Key games that you need to win in the conference play. You're 0-1 in conference play now. You look at the box score. Gleason, 15 for 30 for 89 yards, 2 interceptions. He's got to be benched. QBR rating is 11.8. Traden was the only bright spot in the whole offensive scheme. 26 carries for 153 yards, 1 TD. Crosby, 3 catches, 34 yards. Western Michigan, Laurie, 16 for 33 for 201 yards, 1 interception, no TDs. QBR rating is a 47.3. He led in running, too. 18 carries for 50 yards for 2 TDs. He was the offense. The entire offense for Western Michigan. The entire offense for Western Michigan. And you look at the overall team stats. Toledo had a total of 280 yards, a total offense, 89 through the air, 191 on the ground. Western Michigan had 291, 201 through the air, 90 on the ground. Toledo, 5 penalties for 48 yards. Western Michigan had 2 penalties for 20 yards. Western Michigan turned the ball over 3 times in the game. 2 fumbles and 1 interception. Toledo turned it over twice for 2 interceptions. Toledo 5 for 18 and 3rd down. Western Michigan 6 for 15. Toledo 1 for 2 on 4th down. Western 1 for 3 on 4th down. Western led in the time of possession 30 minutes and 18 seconds to Toledo's 29 minutes 42 seconds. Western with the win improves they improve in the overall rankings to gets their first win of the year. They're 1-3. Well, Toledo goes with the loss goes to 2-2. You can't win games. You can't. And you look at what Toledo has played. Toledo's schedule. They have played easy teams: Western Kentucky, Morgan State. The Kentucky win, the Kentucky loss, not proving well now. Not proving well now. And now the Western Michigan loss. They now get ready to play Akron this week for homecoming. Toledo, a 21.5-point favorite at the Glass Bowl, Saturday, 3:30 kick, and then they have a bye after that. But now let's get to the real team, of course, that I love talking about, and that's the team right there in the brown and orange. That's the Bowling Green State University Falcons. I know this episode's going to go a little long tonight because of the frustration I had with the Tigers-Guardians game. And by the way, the Yankees walked it off tonight over the White Sox. They beat them 3-2. But let's get to what happened in Louisville, Kentucky, as the Bowling Green State University Falcons, led by Coach Eddie George, Drew Pine, and crew, headed into Louisville to take on the Cardinals. And, you know, Bowling Green was a little banged up on offense, but the Cardinals found backup options to come up with a huge win, a big win over Bowling Green in the game. You recap this game. You know, at the end of the first quarter, it was Louisville 7, Bowling Green 3, and you think to yourself, and Bowling Green jumped out to the early lead with a field goal by Jason Keller for 49 yards. I mean, you figured that, you know, Bowling Green would stay competitive on this, but you can't have it that Louisville ranked out 33 unanswered points on us. 33 unanswered points on us before we got into it. And Lucia Anderson had a great game. Had a 75-yard run on 2 plays, 75 yards. He gets the run. He gets the touchdown. At that point, it was 33-10, Bowling Green. Braxton Jennings gets the 3-yard run, makes it 40-10. But, of course, Bowling Green stayed with it. Jacob Harrison gets the pass from Drew Pine, 38 yards. It's 40-17. And Bowling Green was a 26.5-point favorite in this game. So if you took Bowling Green in the points, you got paid. If you took the over in the game, 50.5. But Bowling Green falls in the game. You knew that they were going to struggle against Louisville. And you just take what you can on the film. And to be honest with you, 2-2 in non-conference play, I will take it. The win against Lafayette, of course, you knew we were going to beat Lafayette. You knew you're going into Cincinnati, you're going to struggle. You weren't going to be competitive. You were competitive in a lot of that game. You lost the game, but you still were competitive. You beat Liberty on homecoming. That's a huge win to get you to 2-1. You knew going into the Louisville. I knew going into the Louisville game that they were going to probably get blown out and beaten up in this game. It was just a game where they needed to find themselves, and they got it. They found themselves. They found the identity, and they're 2-2 after non-conference play. So I'm fine with a 2-2 record in conference play. It's starting this week that matters now the most. And going into the Lions' Den of this week, and I'll get to about it here in just a second, as my stats just pulled up. Drew Pine, 11 for 21 for Bowling Green, 131 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. QBR was 35.6, a lot better than Tucker Gleason's. Lucius Anderson, 4 catches, 79 yards, 1 TD. Chris McMillan, 9 catches, 35 yards. Carius Roberts, 4 catches, 20 yards. Drew Pine had a catch, 2 catches for 17. Cameron Petaway, this is running, by the way, 4 carries for 16 yards. Passing-wise, Jacob Harrison, 3 carries, 3 catches, 46 yards, 1 TD. RJ Garcia, 3 catches, 29 yards. It was a good, overall, I'll give the loss as a loss, but looking at how the offense performed, they were good. The defense stood its own. You're playing an ACC opponent that's a powerhouse in the ACC. I'm not knocking them. Special teams was good. There was no problems there. I see a lot of promise with Bowling Green. I really do. Miller lost. 20 was the quarterback for Louisville. 23 for 32 for 316 yards. He had no touchdowns, no interceptions. His QBR was a 71.8. John Brown, 12 carries, 84 yards, 2 TDs. Braxton Jennings, 6 carries, 43 yards, 1 TD. Caldwell Lacey, 8 catches, 97 yards. Darcel Collins, 4 catches, 84 yards for Louisville. The overall team stats, excuse me, look like this. Bowling Green had 14 first downs to Louisville's 21. On third down, Bowling Green was 4 for 12. Louisville 4 for 11. Bowling Green had 321 yards of total offense, 131 through the air, 190 on the ground. Louisville had 439 yards of total offense, 313 through the air, 126 on the ground. Bowling Green, 6 penalties, 43 yards. Louisville, 6 penalties, 55 yards. 2 interceptions that Pine threw were the 2 turnovers. 1 turnover for Louisville, which was the fumble that they cost. The possession arrow went to Louisville at 33 minutes, 52 seconds. Bowling Green, 26.8 seconds. So Bowling Green falls to 2-2. Louisville goes to 3-0. And now Bowling Green begins conference play this week. And I mentioned, like I said, they're going into the Lions' Den right off the bat, as we will now get ready for this week's game, and we're going to preview it here just now. We go into Athens to play the Ohio Bobcats. This is a huge game for Bowling Green to set the tone for the rest of the season. We're not making the college football playoff. We want to get to Detroit and play for a MAC championship. You got to go and knock off the reigning champion, which is the Ohio Bobcats. Now, Ohio coming off the big win over Gardner-Webb this past week. You look at, and they were competitive. They beat West Virginia at Athens this year, 13-10. That was really their signature win so far this year. They battled with Rutgers at the beginning of the season, beating West Virginia, only putting 9 points up on the board against Ohio, the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes, and then beating Gardner-Webb. Ohio set right now at 10.5 points in this game. Bowling Green 2-2, Ohio 2-2, noon kickoff. Ohio has a lot to play. Bowling Green has a lot to play for. Over under, by the way, 51.5 right now. Navarro 67 for 102, 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Pine 68 for 106, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in his run. Roberts has 31 carries. Baraga for Ohio has 66 carries. Hendricks for Ohio has 28 receptions for 3 touchdowns. Lucius Johnson, 11 catches for 1 TD in the game. You have Gary Lampon with 33 tackles, Molar with 31 tackles in this game. So, this is a big one. This is a huge game. And, by the way, I love seeing they show the standings in here, and Toledo saying 0-1. I love it. 0-1 in MAC play. Noon kick, that game on CBS Sports Network. I think Ross Tucker's going to do that game. I want to. I'll probably send him a tweet. We'll send him a tweet and follow him on Twitter at Ross Tucker, and follow our podcast on Twitter as well too at Andy Alfred. So, big game for Bowling Green this week. Starting off MAC play. Other games in the Mid-American Conference besides Toledo playing Akron for homecoming and Bowling Green in Ohio. Eastern's playing Central. UConn is in Buffalo. San Diego State travels to Northern Illinois for a big matchup there. Linwood goes to Miami of Ohio. Western Michigan plays Rhode Island. UMass travels out to Missouri to take on the Tigers of Missouri. You look at the top 25 rankings right now going into this week's play. Of course, Ohio State stays the top spot at number 1. Miami, the Hurricanes, are number 2. Penn State 3. LSU 4. The Georgia Bulldogs 5. Oregon 6. Oklahoma 7. Florida State 8. Texas A&M 9. Texas 10. And then you go out to the bottom half. You have Iowa 11, Texas Tech 12, Ole Miss 13, Iowa State 14, Tennessee 15th, Georgia Tech 16th, Alabama is 17th ranked in the country. The Vanderbilt is 18th ranked, Michigan 19th ranked, Missouri 20th ranked, USC 21st, Notre Dame with their win now goes to 1-2 overall and is 22nd ranked in the country. A non-winning team, non-500 team in the top 25. Remember that. 23rd ranked Illinois at their loss. Now it goes to 23rd. They fell 14 spots, by the way. TCU 24th ranked and BYU 25th ranked. 2 teams dropped out of the top 25, Utah and Auburn. And then in the top 25, the games to look out for, there'll be 2 games in the top 25 on Friday night. 7 o'clock, 8th ranked Florida State goes to Virginia. TCU takes on Arizona State at 9 o'clock on Fox. The Saturday slate looks like this. Locally wise, Notre Dame will travel to Arkansas. Noon kick in Arkansas. Notre Dame 3.5-point favorite in that one. In Washington, it will be the number 1 ranked Ohio State Buckeyes traveling to Washington. Ohio State 8.5-point favorites in that game. 16th ranked Georgia Tech taking on Wake Forest. The big noon kickoff will be in Champaign as 21st ranked USC travels across the country to Champaign, Illinois to take on the Fighting Illini, who are 3-1. USC 4-0. USC a 6.5-point favorite in that game. 12:45 sees Vanderbilt hosting Utah State. 4th ranked LSU will take on 13th ranked Ole Miss. 3:30 kick on ABC. Auburn is at 9th ranked Texas A&M. 3:30 on Peacock sees Indiana and Iowa. Indiana 11th ranked in the country. 15th ranked Tennessee takes on Mississippi State. 4:15 on the SEC network. Arizona takes on Iowa State. 7 o'clock kick on ESPN. Iowa State 14th ranked in the country. The big game, of course, 2 big games in the big prime time window. 6th ranked Oregon travels to State Penn to take on Penn State. Penn State 3.5-point favorite in the whiteout. They're going to play the Ducks in the whiteout. And then 17th ranked Alabama. Roll Tide! Alabama will travel down to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs. 7:30 kickoff on ABC for that one. UMass in Missouri, 7:30, and BYU takes on Colorado in the top 25. Other Big Ten games, by the way, for Saturday. Rutgers is at Minnesota. UCLA is playing Northwestern. So that is the college slate. We'll preview more of those games going forward this weekend on Friday's edition of the Falcon Friday edition of Andy Alfred. And we'll get more into this series between the Tigers and Guardians, which absolutely we came on the air with tonight. And I have basically said that the Tigers are done. And I think they are done out of the situation. So the Tigers will break down the rest of the series with that. Also preview the Falcon football game against Ohio, as well as all the other college and NFL games as the Browns travel to Ford Field to take on the Detroit Lions. Also, got to give mention to this, of course, too. The Blue Jackets are on the ice as they have finished up the 3rd game of the preseason tonight. They lost to the Buffalo Sabres 2-1. Lost last night at Nationwide to the Sabres 4-0. Getting a huge win over St. Louis in Game 1 of the slate on Sunday with a 4-1 win over the St. Louis Blues. They'll play tomorrow at Nationwide Arena, 7 o'clock puck drop against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Don't know yet who's on the roster yet for both teams. Well, it's been a flipping rosters back and forth between the two, of course. Also tonight, the Red Wings and the Blackhawks took the ice tonight at Little Caesars Arena for the start of the preseason schedule for them. Just got to make note, the Red Wings are winner 3-2 in that one. Flyers beat up the Canadiens 4-2. Bruins a 5-4 win over the Rangers tonight in overtime. The Islanders fall to the Devils 6-2. And like I said, the Jackets fall to the Sabres tonight 2-1. Final in Rogers Center. the Red Sox a 4-1 win over the Blue Jays. Bottom of the ninth now. The Mets are up on the Cubs 9-7. It doesn't look good for the Red Legs tonight in that realm, and it doesn't look good for the Tigers as well too, with Boston winning as well. So we'll keep posted on that. We'll keep you tabs on all of that so far into this week, of course. Also, got to make mention of this. Got a chance to go down to wrestling this past Friday night for Friday Night SmackDown. Had a good time. Got to see Cody Rhodes, the contract signing with Drew McIntyre. I thought WrestlePalooza was. I thought it was mid. I really thought it was mid. I thought AEW's production was a lot better than WrestlePalooza. The Cena Lesnar match did not set up to my liking. I enjoyed the Stephanie Vaquer Io Sky match was probably the best match of the night. AJ Lee getting the big win over CM Punk over Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. I think that storyline is going to develop even more now. Thoughts and prayers with Jey Uso with the injury that he faced in the match, and the cut that he got it looked like a deep cut. It was really, really deep, and it did not look good. So there is in that realm. Also, but the main event, Cody Rhodes getting the win over Drew McIntyre. I thought we were going to get a surprise in that, but I guess not. But we'll see what happens. And we're seeing now that Cena's going to face AJ Styles at Crown Jewel, which is surprising. Haven't got a chance to watch Monday Night Raw yet. Probably going to do that tomorrow night. Maybe after the baseball game. Just try to get my spirits up, hopefully. But what the wife has told me, she's watched a little bit of it. She thought it was pretty good. So we'll see. See how it's all going to shake out. And now it's going to be probably Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel as well. They've already announced that as well. So there's that. Yeah. So that's all the sports talk tonight, of course. And like I mentioned before, we will be on the air Friday to preview the college football and the NFL slate, as well as recapping the rest of the Tiger Guardian series. And see where it goes. See where it goes from here, of course. By the way, ice is going down at the Huntington Center as we speak. So closing the show tonight, I wanted to talk a little bit about what's happening in my life and what's happening in the world around us. Of course, a lot of us are still shaken up from the whole Charlie Kirk incident with the assassination and the ceremony that took place in Arizona. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, the whole situation, and for him to die in that way it was absolutely sad. And then now you have the whole situation now with this whole Jimmy Kimmel situation. I love the quote that David Letterman said the best, is that once you interject politics into your own politics into your show, that's when you're going to lose half the audience. And Kimmel's done that so many times, for so many years, in the same role with Stephen Colbert at the same time too. That's why I stopped watching both of them. And I like watching Jimmy Fallon. I think Fallon does a really, very good job with the Tonight Show. But most of my night, I used to love watching Letterman. Letterman was one of my favorites to watch, and he never really interjected most into politics when it comes to stuff like that. I know he would equally make fun of both Democrats and Republicans, but when you have Stephen Colbert, who just absolutely just digs and digs and digs into the Republicans and has Democratic senators and Democratic people on his show all the time, you never saw the 50-50 part ways of that. Same way with Jimmy Kimmel. Kimmel would always take shots after shots after shots at the party itself, and it's something that a lot of people like myself, younger people, do not like. We don't like seeing that. So we'll see what comes of it. I've seen that Sinclair and Nexstar is not going to show Jimmy Kimmel since he's been reinstated, and he's coming on the air tonight in about an hour or so. We'll see if Gray Media and all that are going to show him. here locally in Northwest Ohio. We'll see if they're gonna pop on Jimmy Fallon tonight. Jimmy Kimmel tonight. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But to make the jokes and do all that and to interject yourself into politics and stuff like that, you turn off a lot of viewers, and that's where it gets me. And people say it's free speech, and he's infringing free speech and stuff like that. If you look at what Kimmel's ratings have been, ABC has a right to cancel a program if it's not making money or if it's not making any profit. I don't understand why The View is still on the air. They are the biggest political people I've ever seen in my entire life. It used to be so good back in the day when it was Star Jones and Barbara Walters and all the younger women that were on there. And now you've got Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar just yammer. And I never liked The View. I watched The View a couple times. I've watched The View a couple times, especially that one freaking episode when they had both LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade on, and Barbara Walters and Whoopi Goldberg were all goo-gooing, gagaing over LeBron James. I couldn't stand it then, and I won't stand it now. I will say it as a man. I do not like The View. I think The View should be terminated. Plain and simple. I mean, their viewership is not good. I mean, hell, everybody's watching The Price is Right between 11 and 12. They're not watching The View. Plain and simple. Give me the third hour of GMA during that time frame. Give me the third hour of GMA in that time frame. But that's that. Other than that, in my life, everything else is, fine. I love my beautiful wife. We're getting ready to celebrate on Thursday our 4-year wedding anniversary. I've been married to my beautiful wife for 4 years. We've been together for over a decade, and I absolutely love her. I adore her every single minute, every single day. I enjoy her company. She lets me be me, and that's what the goal is. She doesn't direct me around and push me around. And the thing is, I've helped people out in the past with situations in the past with how their situation in their life was going with their other romantic intuitions, and to see what dating is now to what it was when me and Amanda first started going out, it's just night and day. And to those people that are in an abusive relationship, to those people that feel like they can't get out, there's ways of getting out and talking to people. Find a friend, find somebody that will help you get out of the situation. And when you know it's bad, and and you're out of the situation, find that friend and talk to them. Go out to dinner, have breakfast, do something to help that friend out. Because I know they might be hurting, and I know that they're hurting. But here's the key thing: as long as you're there for them, they know that they're loved and cared for. They're going to be all right. They're going to be all right. So that's all the time we have for you tonight right here on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network. Remember, you can watch us right here on youtube.com/allandyalfred, as well as listen to us on the different platforms on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network, whether it be on Apple Music, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Bleaker, however you're listening, wherever you're listening. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast tonight. Remember, follow and subscribe. We'll be back on the air Friday night on our Facebook Live show. We will be back on our regular channel on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network on Tuesday to recap the Lions and Browns, as well as the week of college football, and to recap the MLB finale that will be happening, the final run of the Tigers, of course, So we'll see what happens. So until I talk to you guys on Friday on Facebook Live, and when I see you guys right here on YouTube and on the different platforms with all Andy Alfred. Until then, this is Andy Alfred saying I'm pulling for you. We're all in this together. The game of life. Keep your stick on the ice. And to the teams you root for at home, and to my teams, go Jackets! Go Walleye! Go Tigers! Go Cards! Go Reds! Congratulations, Hens. Go Falcons! Beat OU! And more birdies and less bogeys with the Ryder Cup happening this weekend. We'll break it all down, preview it on Friday as well. More birdies, less bogeys, because victory is sweetest when you have tasted defeat. Have a great week, everybody. Talk to you Friday night on Facebook Live on the All Andy Alfred Podcast Network. Love you. Happy anniversary, baby cakes. Love you. Talk to you guys soon.